Welcome to Sleepy Tales Stories, where dreams begin and worries fade. Let your mind unwind as soothing whispers and gentle stories guide you into deep, restful sleep. Close your eyes, relax, and let the journey to tranquility begin. Tonight, we're diving into the ancient and mysterious world of Plato, exploring his legendary tale of the lost city of Atlantis. Imagine a time long ago when wise philosophers shared stories of a magnificent island civilization, a place of incredible beauty and advanced knowledge that vanished beneath the waves. As we explore these ancient mysteries together, I invite you to let your mind wander and your body relax. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is. Feel free to leave a comment below and share your corner of the world with our peaceful music community. For more than 2,000 years, scholars have pondered the mysteries surrounding Plato's tales of Atlantis. The ancient philosopher described an island nation, a grand empire, whose story continues to spark curiosity in the minds of researchers and explorers to this very day. But was Atlantis a real place, or merely a cautionary tale? A reflection on the dangers of pride and overconfidence? This question lingers in the quiet hours, like a distant star that flickers with unanswered wonder. How could a civilization so powerful, one that controlled a vast maritime empire and threatened the very security of Greece, have simply vanished into the depths of time? Why is Plato the only voice in history to tell its story? There are no other ancient texts that mention Atlantis. Where did this island kingdom reside? What force, as Plato claimed, could have erased this magnificent nation in a single night and day? These questions have led intrepid explorers to the farthest corners of the earth, from the wind-swept shores of Morocco to the dense jungles of Indonesia, from the heights of the Bolivian mountains to the cold, mysterious depths of the North Sea. They have scoured the Mediterranean, wandered the sands of the Sahara, all in search of the lost city, seeking the truth beneath the sands of time. When Plato wrote of Atlantis in his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, something about his words felt different, as though they were not merely born from imagination. Yes, Plato spoke of higher beings, gods, and even human hybrids, elements that some point to as evidence that the story is pure myth. But many ancient cultures filled their histories with similar tales. Stories of gods walking among men, of divine and mortal unions shaping the world. It is easy to think of Atlantis as a utopia, a perfect place lost to the ages. But that's not what Plato described. Atlantis had an army. It waged war. Plato even said it was once an enemy of prehistoric Athens, a city that triumphed over the Atlantean Empire. This was not a peaceful paradise, but a civilization built on power and conflict. And when Plato wrote of Atlantis, his words were so rich in detail, so full of life, that they seemed more than just a warning about hubris. According to Plato, the tale of Atlantis was passed down from ancient Egyptian priests to a Greek lawmaker named Solon, another figure rooted in real history. And this connection to real people, real events, leads some to believe that perhaps there is truth hidden within the legend. It was the discovery of Troy in 1868 that reignited the modern fascination with music Atlantis. For centuries, scholars believed Troy was nothing more than the invention of Homer, a Greek poet who lived hundreds of years before Plato. In the Iliad, Homer told the story of the Trojan War, a decade-long siege on the city of Troy. Like Atlantis, it was thought to be pure fiction, but there were whispers, quiet voices, suggesting that Homer's tales might hold fragments of truth, real places, real events, wrapped in the cloak of myth. Then, Heinrich Schliemann, a determined German archaeologist, uncovered the ruins of Troy. What had been dismissed as legend suddenly stood before the world, not in words, but in stone. The discovery of Troy gave hope to those who believe that Plato's Atlantis, too, might be waiting somewhere beneath the waves, or hidden under the earth, ready to be found. He made a checklist of all the geographic markers that Homer had embedded in his tales and used them as a map. His method, so straightforward yet effective, ignited the imaginations of today's explorers, who now attempt the same with Plato's writings on Atlantis. Their hope is simple. If they can locate the clues and follow them with precision, they will be led to the lost city. One of the most striking clues that Plato left behind was the unique structure of Atlantis's port city. Imagine standing on a high vantage point, gazing down upon a central island, surrounded by concentric rings of land, each separated by bands of seawater. These rings of land were connected by a bridge, and to the south, the outermost ring opened to the vast Atlantic. According to geologists, this could well describe an island formed by an undersea volcanic eruption, its shape defined over time by erosion and the ocean's persistent touch. The remnants of such a structure are found in the Aegean Sea, on the Greek island of Santorini, known for its connection to the ancient Minoan civilization. Santorini, once known as Thera, has long sparked theories linking it to the legend of Atlantis. In the early 20th century, between 1913 and 1917, scholars like K.T. Frost and E.S. Balk proposed that Atlantis's tragic story may actually reflect the true history of the Minoans on Santorini. Here, archaeologists uncovered evidence of a society far ahead of its time. Buildings with advanced civil engineering, multi-story structures, sophisticated plumbing systems, and even designs to withstand earthquakes. Could this ancient society, with its strength in maritime trade and engineering, have been the mighty empire Plato wrote of? The Minoans were indeed a maritime power, perhaps capable of challenging the mainland Greeks, just as Atlantis did in Plato's tale. And like Atlantis, Santorini was destroyed in a single catastrophic event. A volcanic eruption in the 2nd millennium BCE wiped out much of the island civilization. The city of Akrotiri, preserved beneath layers of ash, reveals a culture of sophistication, one that could rival that of pre-Athenian Greece. But while Santorini seems a fitting candidate for Atlantis, the puzzle remains incomplete. Music. Plato described the capital of Atlantis as being formed of concentric rings, but no such formation has been found on Santorini. And while Santorini's destruction was indeed catastrophic, it did not sink beneath the Atlantic waves. It was buried, not beneath the sea, but beneath volcanic ash in the Aegean. Furthermore, the timeline doesn't align with Plato's accounts, and the power center of the Minoans lay on Crete, not Santorini itself. Perhaps most telling of all is the location Plato gave for Atlantis. He claimed it lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules, an ancient name for the two towering rock formations that stand guard at the entrance to the Strait of Gibraltar. In Greek mythology, the pillars marked the westernmost edge of the known world. Beyond them stretched the uncharted, a mysterious expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. Plato described Atlantis as a landmass slightly larger than modern-day Libya, lying beyond those pillars, across the Atlantic. This place is far from Santorini, and much farther to the west, in the depths of the North Atlantic Ocean. But how far west? Some believe the remains of Atlantis might be found not in Europe, but across the ocean, in South America. There are whispers of ancient cities lost beneath the dense jungles of Amazonia, or hidden under the waters off the coasts of Bolivia and Cuba. Could these remnants belong to the fabled empire of Atlantis? The thought drifts like a breeze through the night, elusive yet tantalizing, beckoning explorers to continue their search. Yet, for an ancient, maritime people, the idea of launching a naval attack on Athens from distant lands like Cuba or Bolivia seems far-fetched. The vast expanse of the Atlantic, coupled with the logistical challenges of such a journey, makes these locations unlikely candidates for the Atlantis of Plato's writings. Still, they are not without intrigue. Cuba, for instance, is one among several places on Earth where submerged cities lie hidden beneath the coastal waters, remnants of a previous age. On the island of Malta, for example, deep tracks carved into the stone once led toward what was dry land, now thousands of feet underwater. Music. Near Yonaguni-jima and in the Gulf of Kampat off the coast of India, there are submerged cityscapes, streets and buildings that were above sea level no less than 10,000 years ago. These sites offer tantalizing glimpses into civilizations long predating our own. They remind us that human history may be far older and more complex than we've imagined. But despite their significance, these submerged ruins are not Plato's Atlantis. They lie in the wrong locations, far from the markers Plato described. Plato's clues have drawn explorers to other shores, the coastal regions of Spain and northwest Africa. But what did the coastline of northwest Africa look like 11,500 years ago? The time when Plato claims Atlantis flourished? Could the land have shifted? Tectonic plates shifting beneath the waves, altering the shape of the world as we know it. Plato spoke of an earthquake and a tsunami, a catastrophe of global proportions that destroyed Atlantis in a single day and night. When viewed from space, the western coast of Mauritania bears the scars of such a music cataclysm. A wash of sand and silt stretches from the North Atlantic deep into the Sahara Desert, where an ancient sea once lapped at the shores of what is now dry land. Marine skeletons litter the desert floor, relics of an ocean that no longer exists. It was here, in 2008, that explorers Natalis Rosen and George S. Alexander began to investigate a strange anomaly. The Rishat structure, also known as the Eye of Africa. This natural formation, with its concentric rings of land and deep depressions, bears an eerie resemblance to Plato's description of the capital city of Atlantis. According to Plato, the city was built on an island, surrounded by rings of water and land. If the sea level had once been higher, or the land lower, the resemblance would be even more striking. The correlations don't end there. Plato mentioned the colors of the stones used to build Atlantis: white, red, and black. Colors that can be found in the rocks of the Richa structure. He spoke of springs that produced both fresh and salt water, and even the presence of elephants, whose remains have been found in the region. Mountains to the north, rivers, and a plateau also match Plato's descriptions. And while today, the Rishat structure is far from the coast, the sands that stretch between it and the Atlantic suggest that it may have once been connected to the sea, offering a route for Atlantis. Mighty ships. Perhaps most compelling of all are the dimensions. Plato wrote that the diameter of the outer ring of Atlantis was 127 stadia, which converts to approximately 23.5. This matches the diameter of the outer ring of the Risha structure. However, some critics argue that the full extent of the structure is larger, spanning between 35 to 50 kilometers. Even so, many of the key features align. The mountains to the north, the landlocked basin of Geitensilt, the plateau, and the possible passage to the sea. The parallels are striking. Too many to dismiss out of hand. Could the Risha structure be the long-lost city of Atlantis? Buried not beneath the ocean, but beneath the sands of time? The story deepens when we consider the forces that may have shaped this landscape. The cataclysm Plato described, an earthquake followed by a flood, could have been caused by a tectonic event, perhaps even a volcanic eruption. The Sahara, now dry and barren, was once fertile and teeming with life. The very ground beneath our feet holds memories of ancient waters, and the idea that an advanced civilization could have once thrived here, only to be wiped out by a sudden disaster, becomes less far-fetched. Rosen and Alexander's investigation into the Risha structure breathes new life into the quest for Atlantis. While the debates continue, the echoes of Plato's words resonate in the deserts of Mauritania, inviting us to explore the possibility that Atlantis may not lie beneath the waves of the Atlantic, but beneath the shifting sands of Africa, waiting for those bold enough to uncover its ancient secrets. Plato's reference to the island being located beyond the Pillars of Heracles has long been understood to mean beyond the known world, across the vast ocean to the west. Even if Mauritania was once submerged, it would have still been right next to the northwest African mainland, a far cry from the mysterious lands Plato implied. Moreover, the Rishat structure, though intriguing, is oriented southwest, rather than the north-south alignment Plato described. The abutting plain, too, doesn't quite fit with the detailed geography Plato laid out. Then there's the issue of navigation. Plato claimed that after Atlantis was swallowed by the sea, the region became an impassable morass of mud, silt, and debris, making it impossible for ships to pass through. Yet, the area around the Risha poses no such challenge in terms of navigability, casting doubt on its connection to the fabled island nation. And where are the remnants of civilization? When we examine other submerged sites around the world, beneath the waters of Cuba, Malta, or India, there are clear signs of ancient urban centers, streets, steps, temples, entire cityscapes preserved for millennia beneath the ocean's surface. If the Richa structure is indeed Atlantis, why is there no evidence of such structures? Surely, even after being flattened or scattered by disaster, some trace of Atlantis's grandeur would remain. A ghost of the once mighty empire Plato so vividly described. The lack of any visible remnants of advanced infrastructure weakens the argument that the Rishat structure could be Atlantis. However, when we shift our focus from the physical remnants to the timeline of Atlantis's fall, we encounter something even more fascinating: a connection to a planetary disaster. Around 12,800 years ago, the Earth was rocked by an event that left an indelible mark on history: the impact of fragments from a massive asteroid known as the Clovis Comet. This impact obliterated much of the Clovis civilization in North America, causing the extinction of 70% of the continent's megafauna. The aftermath was apocalyptic: raging wildfires, towering tsunamis, a global blanket of dust and soot that sent the planet into a deep freeze, known as the Younger Dryas period. Researchers like Richard Firestone of the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, Albert Goodyear of the University of South Carolina, and James Kennett of the University of California have been at the forefront of this theory. Once controversial, it has now gained traction, suggesting that a catastrophic event did indeed occur, reshaping the planet and plunging it back into an ice age, just as it was emerging from one. This event devastated ecosystems, wiped out large animals like woolly mammoths, mastodons, and saber-toothed tigers, and nearly extinguished humanity itself. It's not hard to imagine that an island nation, perhaps an advanced one, caught in the midst of such seismic chaos, could have been swallowed by the sea. Plato's description of Atlantis disappearing under the waves in the wake of earthquakes and floods suddenly seems all too plausible. The Clovis Comet's fragments, combined with shifts in global climate, offer a possible explanation for why so many ancient coastal cities, from Cuba to Japan, now lie beneath the ocean. These cities were once thriving, only to be drowned as the seas rose and the Earth's surface was reshaped. This period of upheaval, known as the Younger Dryas, continued until around 11,600 years ago, right around the time Plato claimed Atlantis vanished. beneath Greenland's high Arctic glacier, scientists have discovered a massive meteorite crater, 31 kilometers in diameter, which may correspond to the timing of the younger Dryas impact. The comet not only triggered global fires and floods, but also drove the extinction of megafauna across the globe. Woolly rhinos, mammoths, mastodons in North America and Europe, as well as giant sloths and the massive buffalo, zebra, and wildebeest species of Africa, all disappeared during this period. Could it be that the Richat structure was once part of this vanished world? Or does it fail to fully align with Plato's detailed descriptions? Its orientation, its position, seem to misalign. And without the physical evidence of an advanced civilization, the theory wavers. However, the timing and cataclysmic conditions of the younger Dryas provide a compelling backdrop for Atlantis's demise. Might the burial of Atlantis in salt and ocean sand be part of a wider cataclysm? One triggered by the fragments of the Clovis comet, while the lack of megalithic structures and definitive evidence raises doubt. One has to wonder, is the search focused in the right place? Plato's phrase about Atlantis lying beyond the pillars of Heracles suggests a location much further west, possibly somewhere in the mid-North Atlantic. But what has been found there that might lend weight to the idea that Atlantis was a real place? And why does it matter to us so much, even today? If we now know, without doubt, that ancient cities lie submerged beneath the seas across the globe, cities whose existence proves there were once civilizations we know very little about, then why does Plato's tale of a lost city still captivate so deeply? What's so important about the story? If it's only ever mentioned in Plato's writings, what is truly at stake here? Richard Freund, a professor of archaeology at the University of Hartford, has been leading efforts to uncover clues that might lead to Atlantis. His investigations in southern Spain have revealed a potential connection between Atlantis and a culture that left behind memories of the lost city. Using advanced technology that detects soil conductivity, Freund's team identified a buried site in Doñana, a region of prehistoric mud flows. Beneath these flats, the technology uncovered patterns resembling circular structures, evidence that suggests the presence of ancient city walls, long hidden from sight. In a remarkable site, 200 kilometers from the Spanish coast, in a place known as Cancho Roano, archaeologists have brought to light a curious structure. This ancient site appears to be a shrine or memorial created to honor the cultural heritage of a long-lost civilization. Professor Freund has suggested that this structure could represent a miniature model of an ancient city. At its heart lies what seems to be a temple, within which traces of gold, silver, and bronze have been found, echoing Plato's claim that Atlantis thrived on the mining and refining of precious metals. Even more intriguing is the discovery carved into the temple's floor, a symbol, one that originates from ancient Egypt, a symbol closely associated with the science of refining metals. Plato had stated that Atlantis was built upon its metal industry, refining precious elements to support its empire. If that seems circumstantial, the second carving makes the connection even more compelling. Standing at the entrance to the temple is a large stone stele, etched with the image of a warrior wielding a massive sword, seemingly guarding what could be a map of Plato's Atlantis itself. Perhaps Mauritania deserves further investigation. Or maybe the southern coast of Spain holds more secrets yet to be unearthed. Plato's phrase, "beyond the pillars of Heracles," could suggest that Atlantis lay somewhere further out into the Atlantic, still close enough to challenge Athens, but beyond the reach of the known world at the time. But why do we continue to care so much about Atlantis? Why do researchers spend lifetimes, fortunes, and energy trying to find a place that so many scholars insist is pure fiction? In 2005, on the island of Milos, scholars, historians, and researchers from around the world gathered to discuss the mystery of Atlantis. They debated its significance, its potential reality, and the reasons behind the endless search. It's not just the mystery that draws people in. It's what Atlantis represents. A lost civilization of immense power, knowledge, and beauty, swallowed whole by the forces of nature in the blink of an eye. For many, the significance of finding Atlantis goes beyond just unearthing an ancient city. If Atlantis is proven real, it could validate Plato's broader philosophical claims, which extend far beyond the mere existence of a powerful civilization. Plato's writings in Timaeus and Critias are not just mythological tales, but a mixture of observation, logic, altered states of consciousness, and ancient Egyptian wisdom. If the existence of Atlantis is confirmed, then many of Plato's other far-reaching ideas might also warrant a deeper re-examination. Plato's information about Atlantis came from three distinct sources. The first, logic and observation, what we might today call scientific reasoning. Plato believed that the universe is a conscious entity, a holographic reality where material existence is merely a fractal expression of a deeper intelligence. From this, he deduced that human beings are spiritual entities, having a material experience, here to learn lessons of love, harmony, and wisdom. This idea forms a core part of Plato's philosophical worldview, and it is directly relevant to his understanding of Atlantis as part of a grander cycle of human evolution and extinction. The second source of Plato's knowledge: altered states of consciousness. Through the use of Kikaeon, an ancient Greek psychedelic drink central to the Eleusinian mysteries, Plato claimed to have experienced a different dimension of reality. This deepened his belief in the soul's immortality, and the idea that fear, particularly the fear of death, hinders human progress. In this view, Atlantis is not just a physical city, but a symbol of lost wisdom, a lesson in the consequences of misusing power and forgetting higher principles. Plato taught that our consciousness survives death, and that before returning to a higher state of being, we must process the emotional burdens of our earthly existence. According to him, at the moment of death, we are met by spirit guides, or interdimensional beings, who help us on this journey. Furthermore, Plato speculated that other intelligent beings live on islands in the sky, with superior knowledge of the cosmos. He also claimed that powerful beings, whom he referred to as children of God, played a role in the development of human consciousness. Plato believed that these advanced entities were involved in the evolution of Homo sapiens, bringing us to our current level of intelligence. And the third source of Plato's information about Atlantis: ancient Egyptian priestly knowledge. Plato claimed that this knowledge was passed down through generations and shared with Solon, the famous Athenian statesman. According to the Egyptians, Atlantis was not a utopia, but an advanced civilization that was ultimately destroyed in a planetary cataclysm. If Atlantis truly existed and was annihilated, as Plato described, then his claims about cycles of extinction and rebirth on Earth, along with the involvement of higher powers in human history, would gain new credibility. But even if Plato's descriptions of Atlantis remain unproven, is there another explanation for the myth's persistence and global appeal? Atlantis is more than just an ancient city. It is a metaphor for the rise and fall of civilizations, a warning about the dangers of hubris, and a reminder of the fragility of human achievement. Plato's writings ask us to consider: are the stories of lost civilizations rooted in historical events? Or do they serve as cautionary tales about the need for balance between technological advancement and spiritual wisdom? whether or not Atlantis is ever found. The search for it reflects a deeper yearning, a desire to understand the cycles of human history, the possibilities of ancient knowledge, and the future of our own civilization. As we uncover more about ancient cultures and submerged cities around the world, Plato's Timaeus and Critias continue to inspire the quest for a lost golden age. But is it possible that Plato's narrative of Atlantis is a fusion of fact and fiction? Absolutely. In fact, that's likely where much of the confusion originates. Plato often used fictional dialogue in his teachings, blending moral lessons with historical elements to convey deeper philosophical truths. This method of storytelling allowed him to explore complex ideas while engaging his audience in an imaginative, thought-provoking way. Think of it like a modern author writing a novel, a book where fictional characters have conversations about real historical events and figures. Imagine, for example, a story where the protagonist dines with a wise philosopher from the past, discussing profound ideas that transcend time. The setting and conversation may be a creative invention, but the wisdom shared within it is very real. This is precisely what Plato did. His dialogues were literary constructs, designed to present real ideas and teachings, some of which came from historical figures, like Socrates. The conversation itself may not have happened as written, but it was meant to convey profound truths about civilization, morality, and the human condition. And so, Plato's Atlantis can be understood as both a fictional construct and a possible reflection of real history. It was a vehicle through which Plato explored the consequences of a society driven by hubris, technological prowess, and imperial ambition, without the balance of wisdom or morality. This blending of fiction and reality has fueled centuries of debate. Where does the myth end, and where does truth begin? But perhaps that's the wrong question, because Plato's purpose was not merely to record history. He was teaching lessons about civilization's rise and fall, about the dangers of unchecked power, and about the fragile balance between knowledge and wisdom. Atlantis, whether it existed or not, serves as a dramatic illustration of those lessons, a warning, a mystery, and a reflection of our own place in history. Imagine, for a moment, that Plato's tales are not just flights of fancy, but whispers of forgotten truths. Imagine if, one day, we were to stumble upon the lost city of Atlantis, buried deep beneath the waves, just as Plato described. What else might we unearth from the vaults of his wisdom? As we drift off to sleep, let's ponder this. If Atlantis were to be found, what other stories from Plato's teachings might we begin to see with new eyes? Could his thoughts on the origins of humankind hold more weight than we've given them. He spoke of a universe woven from a tapestry of consciousness, intelligence, and love. He hinted at the possibility that another species, wiser and more advanced, may have played a role in our evolution, nurturing our intelligence, expanding our awareness. Should we start listening more closely to these ideas? Plato's words also speak of something beyond the veil of death, suggesting that our consciousness carries on, bearing the lessons of this life into realms unknown. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? To know that our experiences and wisdom don't vanish like mist, but travel onward, part of a greater journey. And what if Plato was right about civilization's great cycle of rise and fall? A grand pattern woven into the fabric of our history, perhaps too vast for us to grasp in our fleeting lifetimes. As we sink deeper into this nighttime reverie, we might also consider Plato's belief in altered states of consciousness, those rare moments of clarity where the mind transcends its usual boundaries. He believed such states could bring real knowledge, glimpses into other dimensions, and relief from the anxieties that so often cloud our days. Maybe, just maybe, it's time we took this mystery more seriously and embraced the unknown rather than fearing it. For now, let's not rush to dismiss Plato's words as mere fiction. Even without the discovery of Atlantis, his ideas hold a mirror to our deepest questions and curiosities. Plato's influence on Western thought is immeasurable. The British philosopher Alfred North Whitehead once said that all of European philosophy is simply a series of footnotes to Plato. His thoughts have shaped the way we see the world. And perhaps it's time we let them shape the way we dream as well. So as you close your eyes and drift into sleep, allow your mind to wander through the corridors of Plato's imagination. Picture the lost city of Atlantis, the wise beings from the stars, and the cycles of time, ebbing and flowing like the tides. Let your thoughts dance with the possibility that there is more to our universe than meets the eye, more to our own story than we have yet to discover. And when morning comes, carry a bit of that wonder with you. Because who knows, maybe one day the mysteries of Plato will unravel before us, and we'll find that truth and imagination were never so far apart. For now, let the stars be your guide, and may your dreams be filled with the echoes of ancient wisdom. Good night.